That's the only other thing I can show you before we start. It isn't actually a photograph of the Helm Wind, but it's something similar to what the Helm with the clear eye. I just happened to be on these bits. I had them too close to that,
so
and I heated them up, and they got stuck to each other.
Yeah. Did you take these? Wow.
Did you? But no, they used when they have proper Helm bar. This is the fellas. Well, where are we? That's looking over the Eden Valley, but in behind here you'll get this cloud along the top and the very clear sky for a little wee bit afterwards.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
And what sort of time of the year do you see the
Oh, I'm going to tell you, I will record it. Well, I might as well tell you now, I might as well record it if you want.
Yeah.
It's
recording.
Oh, I see. That's when the asides get recorded and embarrass these parliamentarians, isn't it?
Yes.
We hadn't been in the village very long. I think we'd moved into this house end of 2016, I think. That particular winter, it sort of came out of nowhere and more or less overnight. And it had been incredibly windy in the night because we were still at the stage where bad weather would wake us in the night because we were worried about the river flooding. So it was, anyway. When we came down, it literally was just, all you could see was white and little bits of hedge sticking out. It was absolutely dramatic. But to give you an idea of how the Helm Wind, it almost divides the village in half. Because the side of the road that we are on we are most exposed to the fells at the back, which is where the wind comes from. And some years, in fact earlier this year, in fact even just over the last bit of snow and ice we've had, this side of the road, because it's more exposed, the back garden was just white and the fields right up to the fells were just white with ice and frost. And by the end of the day, or by mid-afternoon, the houses over there, it had completely disappeared. And that's when you realise the difference, that just the wind and it drops the temperature so dramatically that it completely leaves one side white out and the other side, as soon as the sun gets up, it melts. It's quite remarkable to see.
Funny thing about when you come to ask us about it, it isn't. We don't seem to get it as strongly as we used to do.
No, I agree.
When I was a lad, going back a bit, in the 50s and 60s, it was a curse, was the Helm Wind, because it came generally about the end of April into May, and it would blow cold, and it would shrivel all the grass, and so nothing grew. It made everybody feel bad-tempered. It affected everybody, and but the curious thing was, it got to 5 o'clock at night or thereabouts, it would stop. And then in the morning it would start again at about 9 o'clock. And where I lived at Crindlake in those days, there's a big wood in behind there, and it used to roar all day, just like railways, trains going past, and roar and roar and roar, and people would come and say, "Look, I couldn't stick this." But that was the wind for you.
Would you like to read the poem? Would
Yeah,
you like
yeah,
to? And you know, if I read it separate, then you can always cut it out if it's not right, or do whatever you need to do.
It'd be nice to start with the poem.
Yeah. So this is a post, one of many Helm Wind themed poems. They all tend to be fairly short. I often write them in situ. I've yet to write one while there's a helm blowing. And I think that'd be a really difficult task anyway. But by necessity, they kind of have to be fairly short. And so they're just like sketches, Helm sketches, if you like. So, boom, bawls the wind, its transparent clay casting across my lugging shoulders, replacing space to escape with invisible fences. My body, now elastic, compresses and bows, flexes fast in Helm's flings and furies. A passing sanctuary found behind the tooth of a dry stone wall, and now I, some pimple embracing a boulder on a kelpie shore. With sinew and strain, I panic and break, aim for the rolling bar beyond which silence gloats. There, lost and remembered, I might secure a kind of harbour from the elemental dementor. But that fascination in trying to capture an element as ephemeral as the wind, but as real as the wind, and certainly the Helm Wind with its great pressure and its great sort of physicality, became something of an obsession for me, and it's something I've dipped into through my painting and song and poems over the years. Of course, the other thing about the Helm Wind is quite often it's extremely cold, and so you have that additional affectation, and the way it shapes your own body as you try and walk through it or into the wind, and you create different shapes with your body. It's almost like a dance on the hillside that you make in order to navigate the hillside.
And of course there's this rhyme, if it blows for, what is it, Ruth? If it blows for 3 days, it'll blow for 9, and then if it blows for 9, it'll blow for 3 weeks or something like that. And it did in those days. It used to blow, all sorts of funny stories. It was that strong that you could upturn things that never would upturn, say a set of harrows, which are that close to the ground, but it blew a set of harrows over Dufton. Dufton seems to be in a very breezy place. Well, it's higher up, but there were maybe always exaggerating at Dufton, if you see what I mean. Or the birds had to fly backwards. I remember daft things like that, if you see. There'd be no truth in it, but you did see crows and pigeons that were out and about having great difficulty flying about in the Helm Wind because they couldn't go where they wanted to go. And if you had some weak sheep, ewes, of course they were lambing time and they may be a bit weak, some of them, if they were very weak, the Helm would blow them over. And they couldn't walk in hold of the wind, so one chap said to a mole catcher, he said to the mole catcher, if you're going round my fields and you just set the sheep up again if they've been blown over by the Helm Wind.
Yeah, I heard stories of the sheep blowing across the whole
Oh, they
fell or
would
being
do.
picked up by the wind.
Well, yes, of course they would.
Exaggeration.
It depends what time it was and how much drink it had.
There was supposed to be cars moving at Blencarn one night, or one afternoon, I think it was. I heard that one.
You had to watch, you didn't blow your doors off.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, the Helm Wind at that, oh, the glorious wind.
Yeah, indeed.
Sorry, I can't really.
No, I think.
If I was
you've
going
done
to-
a brilliant job.
Yeah,
If
that's
I was
incredible.
going to,
That's
if I was going to
incredible.
tell you any more, it would be fiction.
No. I think it's.
I know, and it would be a 3-hour
I
long
never thought-
film. So.